Alright, so everyone and their grandma knows about Siren Head and Cartoon Cat. They're like the rock stars of Trevor Henderson's creepy universe. But what about the weird ones? The ones that didn't blow up on TikTok but are still hanging out in the background, being all terrifying and underappreciated. That's what we're diving into today. We're talking 8 monsters you probably haven't heard of, but should definitely be scared of. Some are sad, some are just gross. One might live in a dead mall. So buckle up, this is about to get weird, in the best way possible. Bonesworth is what happens when a skeleton joins a horror-themed jazz band but never shows up to rehearsals. He's tall, super skinny, obviously, and has this creepy permanent grin like he just told a joke no one else heard. The wild part, he's not even the scariest one on the list. Some fans think he's actually kind of chill, like, yeah, I might haunt your hallway, but I won't eat your soul. Probably. He just kind of floats around, looking like he stepped out of a Halloween decoration aisle and decided to stay forever. There's not a ton of backstory, which honestly makes him weirder. He could be watching you right now, or just vibing in a cemetery somewhere. Either way, if you see a smiling skeleton at 3 a.m., maybe don't go say hi. Or do. I'm not your mom. Don't let the name fool you. This thing isn't descending from heaven to bless your timeline. The angel is big, winged, and gives off, I just escaped a biblical apocalypse vibes. Picture something that kind of looks holy, until you realize its face is all wrong and it's way too tall to be friendly. It doesn't talk, it just stares, like it knows your browser history and isn't impressed. Some folks say it's a fallen angel, others think it's just a messed up alien with a god complex. Either way, it floats around like it's judging your life decisions, and honestly, it probably is. If you ever see the angel, just walk away slowly and pretend you've got somewhere to be. It's not going to help, but hey, it'll make you feel better. This one sounds like a joke your uncle would make after hitting a raccoon, but nope, it's real and it's nasty. The god of Roadkill looks like every unlucky animal that's ever crossed a highway, mashed together into one big meat-flavored nightmare. Think fur, bones, antlers, maybe a tire mark or two, and just enough rage to make you regret that road trip. It's less God and more angry ghost of 100 squirrels, wandering dark roads and making you question your GPS choices. You won't see it coming until your headlights catch something squishy dragging itself across the pavement. Some fans say it shows up where a lot of animals have died, like a walking guilt trip for humanity's worst driving habits. So yeah, drive safe. Not because of cops, but because you really don't want this guy chasing your bumper. You ever walk through an empty mall and get that weird feeling like you're being watched from the food court? Yeah, that's probably Mallman. He hangs out in abandoned shopping centers like a ghost who never got over the fall of Hot Topic. Tall, thin, weirdly stretchy limbs, and a face that just screams, I've seen things in the clearance aisle. He doesn't run or chase. He lurks, usually standing completely still near broken escalators or dark corners. Kinda like a mannequin that suddenly blinks when you're not looking. Nope. Some say he was a regular guy who just stayed behind when everyone left, like a mall worker who took I live at my job way too literally. Now he wanders empty storefronts, probably trying to find a working Orange Julius. Moral of the story? Don't go mal-exploring after dark unless you're cool with becoming a clearance item yourself. If you've ever had a nightmare that looked like an old horror game glitching out, you've basically met this guy. The man in the red room doesn't do much, and that's what makes him terrifying. He just stands there in a room soaked in red light, staring at you like you just walked in on something you really shouldn't have. He's all shadows and vague outlines, like your brain refuses to finish rendering him. No one knows what he wants, or why he's stuck in that room, or why the lighting looks like a crime scene. All we know is, if you end up in there, you're not getting out the way you came in. Is the red room a metaphor? A dream? A literal hell? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, if your hallway suddenly glows red, don't go investigating. This isn't Stranger Things, and you're not getting superpowers. If Slender Man got really into performance art and swordplay, you'd get the Fencer. This dude is tall, like hits his head on ceilings, tall, and his limbs are so long they look photoshopped. His face, almost featureless, except for the I'm better than you energy radiating off him. He doesn't carry an actual sword, but people say being near him feels like you're being sliced in half, mentally, emotionally, maybe spiritually, like he's cutting into your thoughts with invisible blades. So that's comforting. The fencer shows up in dark hallways, foggy fields, or anywhere you'd definitely not want to be after midnight. And then he just watches, waiting. Maybe he's judging your posture. Maybe he's planning your emotional destruction. Who's to say? If you see him, don't engage. This isn't a duel. You're just background noise in whatever creepy art project he's got going on. This thing is basically what happens when a subway line and a tapeworm have a baby. The highway worm is huge. We're talking eats roads for breakfast, huge. It lives under highways, minding its own business until it decides to yeet itself up through the asphalt and ruin your entire commute. You'll be cruising along, vibing to music, then bam! Your car's suddenly airborne, and there's a giant worm doing its best impression of a natural disaster. It doesn't roar or hiss or anything dramatic. It just breaks stuff. Silently, like a passive-aggressive Godzilla. Some people think it's attracted to vibrations, like the rumble of tires or bass-heavy music. So yeah, maybe don't blast dubstep if you're driving through the middle of nowhere. If a pothole ever looks way too deep, that's not a pothole, buddy. That's a mouth. Okay, this one? Straight up nightmare fuel. The giant puppeteer is exactly what it sounds like. A towering figure looming over buildings, controlling massive marionettes like he's directing the world's most cursed stage play. And these puppets? They're not cute little Pinocchios. They're twisted, oversized dolls that move in jerky, unnatural ways, like they're glitching through reality. Nobody knows what the puppeteer wants. Maybe he's lonely. Maybe he's running some kind of horror theater no one bought tickets for. All we know is, when he shows up, stuff gets weird fast. Like, entire blocks go silent, people vanish, strings hang from the sky. And suddenly you realize, you're not the one pulling the strings here. Best case scenario, he's just putting on a show. Worst case, you're next on stage. So there you have it. 8 of Trevor Henderson's creepiest, weirdest, under-the-radar nightmares. They may not be internet famous like Siren Head, but honestly, that almost makes them scarier. They're the kind of monsters that don't need a spotlight. They're already standing in the shadows, waiting. Which one creeped you out the most? Or did we miss your favorite back alley nightmare? Drop it in the comments, because we're always down to lose more sleep. If you enjoyed this ride through the weird side of the internet, hit that like button, subscribe for more horror-fueled content, and remember, never trust a smiling skeleton.